Hey everyone, today we're actually kicking off a brand new series, 1 month, 1 deck, here on the channel. And the idea is simple. Instead of just picking up a brand new deck every single week and trying to win a tournament with it, I'll be committing to one deck for an entire month, testing it across multiple online tournaments each week. Now in this month, the deck is going to be Ogerpon Box, also known as Ogre Box, and we're going to find out if it's actually strong enough to compete in the current standard format, and if I can actually win a tournament with it in just 1 month of playing it. Now, if you haven't seen the Ogre Box deck before, it is a rogue deck that's been making quiet waves here and there, especially at the start of this format. The strength of this list comes from the toolbox flexibility, the consistency, and the quick aggression that this deck has. Compared to top meta decks like Gardevoir and Dragapult, this one plays completely differently. You get knockouts as fast as possible while still having outs to most meta matchups. Now, and here's the list I played this week. The game plan is super simple but incredibly strong. You set up multiple Ogerpons fast and take knockouts even faster than that. The core cards are Teal Mask, which is our card draw engine, and our energy acceleration all in one package, allowing us to have fast attacks. Wellspring is our second best attacker, or generally going to be the first that we want to go into in early game. And it's very good in most matchups, especially the ones like Dragapult, where they have a lot of early little HP basics. And of course, we can't talk about core cards without talking about Ogre's Mask. It allows us to change out an Ogre on the field for one in our discard, and that card keeps all attached cards, but it also keeps all damage too, so you gotta be careful with that. Allowing us to be able to switch out a Teal Mask into a Wellspring, or a Teal Mask into a Cornerstone, depending on what matchup we need, as long as we have one of those in the discard, allowing our energy acceleration and card draw engine to actually turn into a deadly weapon at the same time. Now, for week 1's tournament, I didn't have a lot of free time, so I ended up trying to win a tournament on no sleep and having been up for over 20 hours that day. And as you can guess, I didn't do that well. I went 0-2, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn this week from my losses still. And if you're into the Pokemon TCG standard, deck testing, tournament reports, and meta or rogue strategies, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, because this series is going to dig deep into what makes a deck good and what makes it fall apart. And I also post every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I hope to see you guys on those videos as well. Now, and without further ado, let's get straight into the first game that I'm going to showcase from that tournament. Alright, so here's the first game, and this was the very first round. I played against a Gardevoir deck, and as you can see, my hand isn't terrible. I mean, we do really need something better. It kind of stinks that we have double energy switch in our hand along with our research, but we at least have another Nest Ball, so if we can top deck another grass energy, that would be huge, because then we can actually get 2 searches or 2 draws. Instead, we top deck a Squawk, and here we're just using this Artisan. I want to look and see exactly what is left in my deck. I made sure that I have at least 1 copy of the Wellspring. Wanted to see exactly how many of our Luminous, and if we had our A spec still in the deck. That is a very important card here. So here we did do the Teal Mask draw, and then we got a Nest Ball off that, so we can actually use both of these Nest Balls real quick. This is going to allow us to get down another Teal Mask plus a Wellspring. And then here I kind of make a mistake. I benched that Squawk because I planned on using it, but as soon as I saw my hand from the research, I realized I didn't need to use the Squawk anymore. And that's going to come up later on in the game as being just a huge liability, because it only has 160 HP. So unless we put a Bravery Charm on it, then pretty much most of the Pokemon that our opponent is playing is going to be able to one-shot it. And that just means that that's a free 2 prizes whenever they need to in the game. Especially with the Screamtail, all they have to do is just put 4 energy on the Screamtail and it one-shots a Squawkabilly. So here we at least did get our Legacy energy. We were able to put that on the Wellspring. We were hoping to get a turn 1 double knockout with the Wellspring, there is a chance that you can do that with this deck, but because we had to get rid of 2 of our energy switches, we just weren't able to. We needed 1 more energy in order to be able to do the Torrential Pump to knock out both of the Rolts in a single turn. So here they did just use their Monkey Dory attack. They didn't have any dark energy, luckily, so they weren't able to just move damage around either. But now our Wellspring is confused. So here I'm just taking a couple seconds. I'm trying to think. We know that we're going to use this Night Stretcher on the grass energy. Now, what are we going to put that energy on? We could just put it on this Teal mask. That way then we get a draw. And then I make a mistake here. I use this energy switch, and again, I was just really tired from being up for over 20 hours. So for some reason, I use the energy switch. I think what I was trying to go for is the Torrential Pump here, which I still do. Luckily, we hit heads, and we're able to knock out both the Monkey Dory and the Rolts. But I decide I'm actually just going to hold on to the energy instead, in case they decide that they're not going to swing with the Gardevoir and instead try to go for something else. Then there's a chance that I could actually use that energy. So that's also another mistake that I made. I should have just used the energy. I didn't want to give up the Legacy though and put that back into the deck, because if they do knock out our Wellspring right now, they only take 1 prize, meaning that they still need to knock out 3 more of our Pokemon in order to win the game. So here they do put down a Kirlia, put down a Lillie's Clefairy, and we do have a Research in hand. We do have the Latias as well, finally, so we can actually get that down next turn, and that gives all of our Pokemon free retreat because all we run is basics. And that's going to allow us to be able to do a little bit more safe retreating rather than having to worry about how much energy we have on everything after the retreat. So here they are putting some damage onto their Gardevoir so they can actually retreat it back. And here's something to note. I'm thinking that they're going to go for the knockout with the Gardevoir, but I see that they still have 2 Psychic left in their discard, so they actually just play down the Screamtail, retreat into it. So now they're able to get 4 energy onto the Screamtail, making it have only 10 HP left, which means that it actually does 160 damage. And here they're going to take the knockout on the Wellspring. Our Legacy does make them only take 1 prize for it, and then we're going to have to put up the Teal mask. The Cornerstone isn't really good into this matchup. It can be good into Gardevoir or Lillie's Clefairy specifically, or even like Monkey, but most of their big attackers that they're going to be swinging with, which is the Screamtail or the Drifloon, it's not good into. And what I didn't realize until a little bit later is, since this tournament was open deck list, I was able to look at what Pokemon they had at any time, and I realized, oh, they don't have Drifloon, so Cornerstone actually is a good card into this opponent's specific Gardevoir deck, because they only have 1 real answer to our Cornerstone. We are still just going to discard that to the Earthen Vessel, so that way then we can start getting some energy and getting that around. We actually top deck a Ogre's Mask from one of those draws, so at any time we can take one of our Teal masks and put it into a Cornerstone when we need it. Here, our prize card is another Earthen Vessel, which is pretty good. The big issue that I have with this Ogerpon deck specifically, like this version that I'm playing, is I don't feel like we have enough of the energy that we really need, but at the same time, we don't really want to put more like luminous energy and stuff like that into the deck, solely because it is really difficult to be able to get draws with those, because you can't use those as just basic grass energy. And you don't really want to put in basic fighting or basic water, because those are just dead draws for you as well, because you still can't get draws off of them either. So I gotta find the middle ground of the energy situation here, and that's something that I'm going to be working on with this following week as well. So here they actually get a knockout with the Gardevoir, taking another 2 prizes, going down to only 3. And we are just going to use Teal Mask right away. We draw into our 3rd and final Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then we get to do 3 draws. We find a Luminous, which is huge, so we're actually just going to do the Ogre's Mask here, put the Luminous down, so now we have the Cornerstone. It's going to be able to do a decent bit of damage. I'm using this Artisan just to look through their deck. At any time, I could grab that Iron Bundle just to thin out my deck a little bit, but I don't want to grab it until I absolutely need it, because it's very good at getting a problematic Pokemon out of the active. Here, I could just Iono them. They're down to 8 cards in hand, so I can put them down to 3. And we actually get another boss, which is huge. That's one of our ways of winning, and that's kind of what we're aiming down at this point. So here they use Night Stretcher, they get back the Screamtail, they're going to be able to retreat after moving some damage around, and this is why I said it was a mistake to do the Squawkabilly early, because now they're able to put up that Screamtail and they have more than enough energy in the bin to be able to actually get the 80 damage done to Screamtail to be able to do 160 damage to our Squawkabilly. So I was trying to play around all that, but we did have to get rid of our Penny in our starting hand as well, so we didn't have a way of really getting the Squawkabilly off of the bench either. So it was just having to find Bravery Charms, but I ended up putting those on a Teal Mask and on a Fez instead. So here I realize the writing's pretty much on the wall. I kind of need to just hope that they don't have another way of getting into the Screamtail again. So I just go for the knockout there. And there's a couple different avenues that they have that they could actually win. If I remember correctly, their deck was playing, I think, 1 or 2 copies of Boss's Orders. But here they just had the Super Rod and they still had the Artisan. So for game number 2, or round 2, I played against another Gardevoir style deck, but this one actually was entirely different from your traditional Gardevoir deck. And it is a really cool deck. So shout out to Croaky. I think that's how you say your in-game name, Croaky. But your deck was really cool. It's this Alakazam EX and like baby Alakazam style Gardevoir deck that's all about like keeping a Mimikyu in the active and then attacking from the bench. You also run things like the Frillish engine too, just to be able to try to item lock your opponent, so that way then your Alakazam can continue attacking. It's a really cool deck, and our only real answer to Mimikyu in this deck is actually Cornerstone, because all of our Pokemon are EXs other than Iron Bundle. And with Cornerstone, his attack specifically states that it doesn't care about what your opponent's ability is, it still just does the damage. So here we are getting double Teal Mask down. We do have a Earthen Vessel, that's why. So that way then we can actually get 2 Grass Energy. Now we're going to be able to just start cycling through our deck a little bit. We find a boss, which is going to be real nice. And here we can actually just get a quick attack off. And I'm going to use this boss, and there's 2 different options that I can choose. I can choose the Kadabra or the Kirlia. I go for the Kirlia because I know that if I go after the Kadabra, he can still power up the other Abra if he has like a rare candy into Alakazam. But this way, he's not able to just fully power up the attacker. He has to actually get 2 energy on it by naturally putting him down. Here, he does just hit us with a Iono, and then he just Nest Balled down another Ralts. So our hand is looking okay. We're going to do some card draw here. I really don't want to put an extra energy on this Teal Mask, but at the same time, later on, we can actually go into a Wellspring using Ogre's Mask on it, and that's going to be completely fine. And we're just going to get out a Cornerstone right now. We're going to get that down. We are just going to use this energy switch, and then use another energy switch to put 2 energy down onto the Cornerstone real quick, and then hit them with the Iono. The whole plan for that was to actually hopefully hit a Luminous Energy, but if I remember my prizes correctly in this matchup, I actually prized one of my Luminous and then my Ace spec. So I only have 2 Luminous left in my deck in order to be able to start swinging with this Cornerstone. So that was another reason why I was like so heavily trying to get all this draw down, is to try to find one of those so I can at least get through this Mimikyu. Here I see the baby Alakazam, and I was reading it, but they actually play down the Alakazam EX, and now they're going to be able to start attacking while on the bench. It only does 120 damage, but that 2-shots any of our Pokemon, and that's easy for them to get 2 prizes. So we're going to have to do a bit of retreat shenanigans until we can find this Luminous Energy to get rid of this Mimikyu, or until we find like a boss's order to be able to get rid of like the Kirlia or something else. So here they're just drawing and then they attack again. We do get a research, so we're going to have to use that right now. That does get rid of one of our Ogre's masks, but we really need to find a Luminous Energy. That is so necessary for us right here. So we are going to Earthen Vessel away this Wellspring. We don't need it anymore. We are just going to grab the 2 energy that are left in our deck, and then we're going to try to draw. We actually find the Luminous, so here we are going to be able to swing. Even though it says it only does 0 damage, it does the 140 because of the effect of the Cornerstone's attack. So we're able to get that knockout. Because we have the Bravery Charm on our Cornerstone, he's not going to get knocked out by just a regular attack from the Alakazam on the bench. So my opponent needs to find one of the 3 copies of Dark Energy in his deck. But in his discard, he has 1 in there. I'm pretty sure that he prized 1 or 2 as well. So here he is going to Super Rod. He Super Rods back a Mimikyu and a Kirlia or a Ralts. They have kind of the same picture, so it's kind of hard to tell right now. And then they go into a Gardevoir. They have the counter catchers, so they bring up the Latias, and they're going to be able to swing with the Alakazam, just throwing some more damage on it. And they attach to their Abra on the bench. So here we just go back into the Cornerstone. We have the Ogre's Mask as well, and we're going to be able to swing again, take out this Mimikyu, go down to only having 3 prizes left. We actually get off the prizes one of our Luminous Energy. That's huge, and I don't know why they didn't counter catcher up the Fez, because knocking out the Fez I think would be a little bit more important. And here they use Rare Candy. They go into the baby Alakazam, the non-EX one. And a big mistake on my part is about to happen soon. I was just so tired that I wasn't paying attention to the very first sentence of Strange Hacking, which is the name of the attack that he used. I was just paying attention to the last half, which allows him to move damage around so he can actually take knockouts depending on how he wants to do it. So here he's just moving a bunch of damage around, taking his time. He's throwing all the damage back onto our Cornerstone, and he does knock out the Latias, and now I'm just looking through my deck, or my discard. I'm trying to figure out exactly what all I have left. Here we could just play down the Luminous Energy on our Clefairy. What we should have done is actually just play it down on our Teal mask that has no damage on it, because we do have this other Ogre's Mask, so we could actually go into another Cornerstone if the one on the active gets knocked out. Here we actually get to draw as well, so we would have had enough on it to be able to deal with everything, but there's a couple nuances in this matchup that I really didn't know. So again, that's the mistake. I didn't realize, even with the animation, because of how tired I was, I didn't realize that the Alakazam's attack confuses. If I did, I would have just attacked with one of the Teal masks instead, that would have taken the knockout, putting us down to only 2 prizes remaining. And then I would have been able to go for game on the next turn, knocking out the Fez using this Ultra Ball to find a Ursaluna. But because I didn't pay attention, we end up losing the game because of that. Now, we are still trying to win. We do knock out that Pokemon, going down to only 2 prizes. And initially I was also thinking, okay, so my opponent doesn't really have a way to one-shot this unless they get another Monkey Dory with a Dark Energy down. But the Alakazam EX actually has another attack, and it currently does 240 damage to our active Teal mask, and they win the game because of that. So overall, we made a bunch of mistakes and learned a couple valuable lessons, with the most important being sleep is very necessary. Now then, I'm gonna go and work on learning the deck some more and fixing my mistakes this week, so look forward to next Saturday's video to see just how much I improve with the deck. Also, subscribe for more. I release new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and let me know down in the comments, would you take Ogerbox to a tournament as well?